another episode of SteelTalk for Steelers of Ireland. I'm Ryan Turner.
I'm Jonathan Milligan.
And this evening we have the one and only Mr. Paul Gallagher with us. You're very welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
You're very welcome.
Jonathan. Good,
all right.
Good stuff.
Good to have you along.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good stuff. It's lovely to have you participate in another episode of SteelTalk for our friends and viewers around the globe. Paul, you're another number one. You're another Donegal man. You're like myself, a fellow county man. Yeah.
Through and through.
Through and through.
Green and gold.
That's right.
Yes.
And you're a Kilcar man.
No, I'm not.
Are you not?
I'm married to a Kilcar woman.
Oh, that's
Mary B.
Yes. That's how
very
you
good
ended up.
singer.
That's right. That's how you ended up in Kilcar.
Who sings along with me, but I'm from Killybegs.
I'm
one of the boys from Killybegs.
You're one of the boys of Kilcar.
I'm a fisherman.
You're just down the road from Kilcar, really.
Well, I would more or less say the Kilcar's down the road from Killybegs.
Very good. Yes, very good. Paul, again in Ireland, you're one of our finer steel players. You're a very talented man, great musician, a great guitar player, singer, songwriter, and pedal steel guitarist. And how did it all come about?
Well, to tell you the truth, Ryan, I wouldn't have been much into pedal steel at all as I was growing up. I wouldn't have grown up in a sort of an environment of country music. I would have sort of been in an environment of rock,
of course,
pop, sort of, and would have all my early days would have been sort of developing as a guitar player.
In your early career, you had one of the better bands. Pluto, these were very, very popular.
Yeah, well, I had a band at school as well too, at college,
Yeah.
And a 5-piece band, and we played at sort of school dances and things like that, but it all developed into a sort of a pop rock thing,
Sure.
And would have been at that for a couple of years. I got married young at 21. Would have started then. Even before that, I would have went to a place called Fintra Holiday Centre, maybe when I was about 17. And my first experience of ever seeing a pedal steel guitar was a Scottish duo called Freighter and Gun.
Right.
And never seen one before in my life, never heard one before, but I liked the sound, the way it sort of came across. Yeah. I liked the Hawaiian thing about it, and
you were a young man then?
I was a young man, yes.
Do you remember what age you were and that first experience of?
That was about 17. I was about 17 at that stage. Then the funny thing about that encounter with Freighter and Gun, that never paid any more heed to that or any more remarks to that, but years ago then, we'll go way on and on and on. I'll do a Billy Connolly now, I'll jump from one thing to another. But even up to about maybe 8-9 years ago, we'd have been playing a country Monday night in Coldstream for Eleanor Moffat.
Yeah.
And this guy used to come up to me at the end of the night and he'd say, "Oh, I love the pedal steel guitar. My friend used to play one of them and I really like listening to the pedal steel guitar." And I said, "What was his name?" His name was, he was called Freighter. And I said, "Be any chance, is that anything to do with the duo called Freighter and Gun?" He says, "I'm Gun." He says,
wow.
His name was Jimmy Gunn, and he would have been probably about 80 at that stage, Since that he's died, God rest him, but that's that story,
There was a lot of years in between there where you hadn't really heard tell of those guys, and so...
Yeah.
And that was your first experience of what...
That was my first encounter with a pedal steel guitar. Then, if we want to roll it on a wee bit, then we would have had probably watching Top of the Pops. I noticed then that there was pedal steel being played on 1 or 2 tracks. Pearl's a singer.
Yeah.
Who do you call what do you call your one down that?
A lot of names.
Elkie Brooks. Yes. Elkie Brooks.
Yeah.
The encyclopedia over here on the camera.
Yeah.
Seamus.
Good man.
Elkie Brooks. Things like that. Then I would have been playing with a band in Letterkenny called Rascal.
Yeah.
And there used to be a country night every Thursday night in Letterkenny. And I ended up going to one or two of them, and I loved this guy who was playing steel guitar. And it was Percy Robinson.
Yeah.
So, and then there's another story then, like about Percy, you know, like how we sort of would have met up, and how our sort of careers intertwined then, like with our band recording in the studio, and how I got into steel guitar, and how he helped me along with it and showed me things on it, you know. And
of course. Yeah.
he was very generous and very gracious with his time.
Well,
you know.
that's totally Percy. Yeah, you nailed it there. But you know, coming from a pop rock background, it was quite a change around. And then Paul, and I know I'm probably skipping a bit of the journey here, because you had a great career with yourself and your wife Mary B, who's a fantastic singer. At both, I heard her sing the pop rock thing, and Mary B's a great country singer. So you had a band called Mary B in Bakersfield.
Well, as I said to you, we done the pop rock thing until around about the end of the 80s. We were always sort of started to get a wee kind of a liking for country music, and started listening to a lot of country music.
Yeah.
And the things that sort of would have kind of interested me at the time, I really loved the Ricky Skaggs, you know. Like
I know that, yeah.
Something like that. That's kind of got me sort of going on
the
it.
Bruce Boughton thing, and of course, with you being such a good guitar player as well, I'm sure all that, even the electric picking.
Well, I would have been more into the electric playing that time, and it was Ray Flack used to play. You know, great player.
Yeah. Great
sort of. Then would have got into sort of Dwight Yoakam. I like Dwight Yoakam. And then I finally ended up with my favourite of the whole lot was George Strait, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, and Old Possum as well.
That's right, George Jones.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
So can you remember, you know, your early, well, you know, I know you're saying Ricky Skaggs, but your early influences on pedal steel, like what players did you turn to? Again, it's like I've pointed out to some of the other guys. Myself and Jonathan has been talking to a few other players, and you know, back at that time, Paul, there wasn't much help. We've said that to the other players. There was no YouTube, and there was
we didn't have YouTube. We had no Facebook. We had nothing then, you know.
No. I'm coming from rural Ireland, like I'm based here in North Donegal, you're over the west of the county. Although we're county men, we're still 2 hours apart. You know,
well, I bought
rural Ireland.
I bought my first steel from a guy who was a caretaker in an American school in London called Condorian.
Right. Okay.
He was originally from Kilcar, and he used to come home on holidays and all time.
Very
and
good.
he had his family and all in London, but he was originally from Kilcar. But he heard that I was sort of into country music, and he says, I think I know where there's a student model going. It was a Showboat Maverick.
Right, yeah.
So I said to him, great, he said, I'll buy it. And he got it from me. I remember it was £300 at the time, you know.
Yeah. Paul, do you remember what year that was?
Probably around about 87, 88, around about then, you know.
Yeah. So although you're in the business quite a while, you're just not playing steel as long as a lot of no.
No, and I was only kind of like, as we would say in Donegal, I was only footering about it at that stage, you know.
Yeah.
And then I would have gone to. I heard about Ted Nesbitt, you know, that he was the guy that wheels and deals and steals.
Yeah.
There's a whole story there too, which we'll get around to.
So I made a wee trip to Ted, and Ted accepted the Maverick from me, and I bought a ZB of him.
Yeah.
And that has a wee bit of history too.
That has history as well. It certainly has.
Because that ZB then, I sold that ZB then for, was it a Ford Escort? Was it? No, it was a
Ford. I think it was a Ford Mondeo.
A Ford Mondeo.
Yeah.
Sneakers. The smell.
I traded it of Ryan for the. The ZB went for a Ford Mondeo because I already had bought an Evans at that stage.
Yeah. I remember going to visit Paul. I was a very young man, and I have to say, Paul, you were very kind to me as a young man in my early 20s, because you had a great studio in Kilcar, and at that time, Paul, you were recording a lot of big records. And you, I was in my early 20s, very early 20s, and you accepted me to be a piano player that you used quite a bit. And God be good to him, Brenton McGarty drummed in some of those sessions. And we used to go down to Paul's. I remember going down there and time staying for 3 or 4 days. And there were a lot of great records recorded in your studio. Yeah. And it was the scenario, everything was done. The drums and the bass and the rhythm piano tracks was put down live together. Yeah. So I have some great memories. Right. But I remember coming down to look at this ZB Custom, and I had been out the night before, I think, in Killybegs, and I stayed over, and I come down to Paul the next day to see this steel, and I was at that time I used to, we would have a few drinks. I was a little touched hungover. Do you remember that, Paul?
Well, they don't call me Dr. Gallagher for nothing. I cured him on the spot.
They cured me on the spot. Yes, because I remember going up to Paul's studio and he had the ZB set up, and he gave me a bar and he says, "Have a go on that guitar," and I knew nothing about steels, and I was a bit like this here, Paul.
You're a bit like me the way I am now.
Natural vibrato.
A natural vibrato. Paul says to me, he says, "I'll sort you out," and he went away and he got me a coffee. I don't know what he had in the coffee, but you got me.
I cured you.
You cured me. But yeah, that's and you know, Paul, that was the very first pedal steel that ever I owned. Yeah. That ZB of yours.
Yeah. But you must admit that ZB was a nightmare for keeping in tune, wasn't it?
Well, it didn't matter to me back then because it just so well, I couldn't blame the guitar.
Matthew Curran bought it then, didn't he?
I had it and I never done anything with it. I just had an idea about pedal steel, so I bought the guitar, but I never played it, or I couldn't play it. Matt Curran bought it, and I think eventually it went back to Ted Nesbitt, and the guitar went and was fully, Ted sent it off and was fully restored. Yeah. And to be fair, they're a lovely sounding guitars, the ZB Customs.
Oh, there was, I enjoyed, really enjoyed it.
And I think that guitar that you had, I think that was Stephen Smith's guitar. Is that fair, right?
I think it was originally. Yeah. It was green. It was a green coloured one at that stage.
Beautiful guitar. So you then at that point, you were taking your steel guitar a lot more seriously, and you had moved on to an Emmons then, and you were playing well, and you were playing in the band, and.
Well, I wouldn't have been taking it that seriously at the time. I would just have been sort of using the steel guitar like as. We had a country band, we were playing a lot of festivals in England, we were playing a lot of country clubs, and it was nice to have steel guitar in the band. Yeah. So, like taking everything's. Like wee intros and things like that,
Yeah,
just wee intros and things like that, that's basically what I would have used it for. I wouldn't have been taking it that seriously to learn a lot of instrumentals or things like that,
Yeah.
So,
but you did, you certainly did.
Well, I took it a wee bit further, as the years went on, when I really got sort of interested in the instrument, for what it was worth, because I really got to like it and to love it. It was, as I said to you, at the start off, it was just for a necessity, to fill these country songs, and
of course,
wee fills and things. But then we got round to the instrumentals and things.
You did, you certainly did, and you're now one of the household players and household names at the Irish Steel Guitar Festival. Most years you've been a lot of appearances, and you go down very well. Yeah. And as you did last October, you were there, and of course you got to join your good friend Ronnie Miller, who's an old sparring partner of yours from tours back in the.
That's a good story. 1993, we went to America. We went over for 4 summers in a row, but that was the first summer we went over. And we went over as an Irish band to do Irish festivals and Irish hotels in East Durham and around New York and places like that. But The guy that took us over, he was very friendly with a guy called Gallagher, who ran a big sort of a resort up in the Catskills called Hunter Mountain, and they used to have a big country festival there every summer. They heard like that we were over and that we were really into country, so we got on the bill, like way down the bill, like, you know.
Sure.
So we had played before Mark Chestnut and Charlie Pride and Joe Diffie.
Brilliant.
And Mary Shaping Carpenter, we played, and Hal Ketchum. And on a few occasions there, like, I got to meet the steel players from those bands, you know.
Of course.
And I was first introduced to Ronnie Miller, like from Charlie Pride's band, lovely man, and wouldn't have met him then and for years afterwards until I met him at the Irish Steel Guitar Festival,
Wow.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's very funny, there was another guy playing there as well too with Mark Chestnut, and I couldn't remember his name, so I went online last night. He was an Asian guy. Well, he looked Asian, but maybe he was American. But his name was Slim Yamaguchi.
That's the
Have you-
I've
you
heard
know?
of him, yeah, brilliant.
And
He played with Mark Chestnut.
but apparently he played with Mark Chestnut for about 22 years.
Yeah,
you know.
he did, indeed, yeah.
So that
Wow.
was
Yeah.
my kind of recollections of
Very good. Yeah.
those
Yeah.
festivals as regards for the country end of it. You know.
Yeah. They're nice festivals to play at, Paul. Prestigious festivals for you and your wife and your country band to go over there to the States and to be on them stages.
Yeah.
And, you know.
It was a big, huge marquee that would hold about 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Huge marquee.
Yeah. Wow.
And all we had to do was take our instruments, and everything else was just fell into place.
Yeah. Very good. You enjoyed those tours, obviously.
I did, but it was hard going, you know.
Yeah.
The American thing, it was all right to play the festival because you only ended up maybe doing about an hour and a half at the festival. But a gig in America was very tiresome.
Yeah.
4 hours.
4 hours.
4
yeah.
hours, you know. You would get maybe a 10 or 15 minute break in the middle, that'd be it, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we were doing maybe a festival in the daytime and doing a gig at night, you know.
Oh,
So
yeah, it's tight.
that was.
Tight going.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I enjoyed it, you know.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Yeah. Of course you did. Getting back to the country band, how long did you keep that going, Paul? The Mary B, Paul Gallagher and Bakersfield. You know, you done
We started that around about 89. No, sorry, 1990, because I was playing with Seamus McGee and Brenton Quinn for a wee while before that.
that.
Right.
So it was 1990, and we recorded a couple of albums with Percy.
You did.
And I was just sort of coming on to the steel guitar at the time, you know, and that's when Percy started showing me wee licks, you know, things that he had, you know, he was all into the sort of Cajun stuff, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff, you
Yeah.
know, and then he would have wee things like, you know, that,
Percy would have been an influence on your playing.
oh, big time,
Big time.
big time at the start off,
Yeah.
without a doubt,
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. And again, Paul, I suppose as it goes around and around the part of Ireland here where we live, he was the only one nearest to you that you could go to for a bit of help. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Closest to you. I know there was other players like you would have.
There was other players, but they were further away. I would have known Martin Cleary at the time.
Yeah,
Martin was a good player, you know, at the time, you know.
And Richard Nelson.
Funny, I wouldn't have known Richard at the time.
At the time,
No, I wouldn't have known him at all.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no.
But you knew Martin.
Oh,
through,
I knew
through
Martin,
through the country scene here.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known Richard. Now, who else would have known at the time? Stephen Smith. Now, I met Stephen a good few times, and I think Stephen is a great player. You know, I think
Stephen's a fabulous player.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. This man here is a great player.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just talking about Irish players now. You know,
Well, here you could chat away about Stephen Smith. Actually, would be an interesting man to talk to actually as well.
Yeah.
He's such a great multi-instrumentalist. He plays so many other instruments as well. It's fantastic. A lot of people like that.
Yeah. You know, it's one thing like having a guitar on you, you know, and playing a guitar, and you just leave it down. The next minute you're playing the steel, but he's on the sax, so his whole finger movements change.
And the fiddle and everything is
And then he's on a fiddle, he's on a mandolin, you know, and everything is all different, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, no, yeah. He's a great. Stephen's a very talented player, and with a bit of luck, we might actually get Stephen around for one of the episodes of the Steel Talk. You know. Paul, play us.
There's a wee thing there that I heard Stephen playing. I don't play it that well now, but.
Very good.
What do you call that tune?
San Antonio Stroll, I think it is. But I've only played a wee bit of it there, you know.
San Antonio Stroll. Yeah.
Nice.
Paul, do you enjoy playing the festivals? The Irish Steel Guitar Festival in Dublin. I know last year I was there, and
the idea
you get a little tad nervous, but
I always get a wee bit nervous when the camera's on me, you know. Just whatever it is.
But you play great.
Huh?
You play great.
No, I did not.
You do. And I've always said it. You're such a particular guy because even going back to 20 years ago when I first met you in the studio, you're very sticky when it comes to certain. You know, you're very particular. Everything has to be, and tuning has to be right, and everything, which is a great. It's a good fault. But you know, I did say to you at the festival, don't be so hard on yourself because I thought you played great.
No.
Yeah.
No, well, it's funny. It's in situations like that where you're surrounded by steel players and you're, you know,
some of the best in the world.
Yeah. When you're playing in a band, there's normally maybe a front man out here, and there's a guitar player and a fiddle player, and you're over in the corner like on the steel guitar. Yeah. But suddenly you're thrown out front, you know.
You're very much so.
You know, and it's a different scenario because I was hearing things different. I found it hard at times to hear the band because of that wee bit behind you know.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas when you're playing in a band, you're back on their level.
Well,
you know?
I found the second time I played it, I was more nervous than ever. The first time I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but the second time I was exactly the same. I knew what to expect, and the nerves was getting to me big time on my second appearance. Now it was hard work, like definitely. But the last time, I think, I'm not sure whether the last time or the time before would be third time, but I was a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
And I knew to keep things simpler, so I didn't complicate things. I kept it for my own benefit.
But it's funny. Sometimes you find even when you're playing simple things, you know, it can still go all wrong. You know, because you just don't get the coordination in the hand. You know.
Yeah.
That's true.
But no, that's the thing. It's a different scenario. You're out front. You're the featured person. You've got all these different steel players in the room, you know, and it can be a wee bit nerve-wracking, you know.
Yeah. Is it fair to say you don't do as much touring or travelling as what you used to?
No.
Are you semi-retired?
I would say totally retired.
Totally retired. But you're enjoying your pedal steel much more now than ever.
Yeah, I'm only playing it at home really. Yeah. I don't get the chance to play out at all because what work I'm doing now, like just bits and pieces. I would be playing in sort of lounges and small hotels, you know, within an hour and a half radius from home.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even set up the steel guitar for it because I'd be doing very little country music.
Yeah.
Would be reverting back. There's a big sort of an upsurge again on 80s music again and middle of the road sort of pop, you know.
Stuff,
you know, so that's the kind of the avenue I've been going down at the minute, you know.
Yeah. Paul, who's been your favourite players?
Wally Gamble.
Wally's great.
Wally's great.
No.
He is great.
I enjoy. There's a few players from across the water that I really enjoy. I love Sarah Jory as a pure genius. She's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. David Hartley is brilliant.
Great,
I haven't seen him now in a long time, but I think it's Alan Thompson. Do you remember Alan from Scotland?
I remember the name.
Yeah, I know the name.
Never heard him.
I haven't heard him in years now. I used to enjoy Alan. I heard him a few times. Wally Gamble, I like Wally. Now another player, I've never seen nor heard of him until this year at the Irish Steel Guitar Festival, was Davy Holland, you know.
Oh yeah, Davy's a lovely player.
Great player, you know.
Great player, yeah.
You know, we think, you know, I forget now, I never heard of it. Like that, he played a tune that day and I thought it was lovely, you know. And I find it very hard to get. I couldn't come on that tune, you know.
No, I'm struggling to remember the name of it, but I asked him about it as well, and he did send me. It's
called
or something.
It's called Appledale Ride, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it anywhere.
No, it's
perhaps it's original, is it? Would it be something?
No. He mentioned
it was Father Rock, is it?
He mentioned it was Al Briscoe that came out with it, you know.
Sorry, that's the
but I couldn't even get Al Briscoe playing.
No, it was probably on an album.
Very good. And the line of steel players, you know, worldwide, and obviously the greats comes from the United States. Who for you? Who's the man?
Well, I like some of the way back, like the older players, like Tom Brumley. I really like Tom Brumley, you know, like sort of stuff, you know.
Is that Bud's Bounce?
Bud's Bounce, yeah.
And am I right in saying, was that Buddy Isaacs, was it, originally?
I haven't a clue.
I think it was Buddy.
I think you're right.
Buddy Isaacs.
It wasn't Buddy Emmons.
No, it was.
You would have naturally think. I think I read
Yeah,
that somewhere, right?
yeah. Buddy Isaacs, yeah.
But I think he brought it to the fore, didn't he?
Tom Bromley was the guy, yeah. Yeah, you're right, Paul.
Well, as I said to you before, Bruce Booten, I love, you know, he's
the Skag stuff.
Yeah, Skags and
Mighty player.
Buddy Emmons,
Buddy Emmons,
you know, like a poor version of it.
Ray Price. Class. Yeah.
I don't even know if that's played right, but I'm just listening to it.
There's so many greats, I suppose, Paul.
Now today, of the today's players, I think Travis Toy is unbelievable.
He is.
I like Tyler Hall.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
Great player. Yeah, John Huey, I really like John Huey as well too, you know, so the thing that I done at the Steel Guitar Festival a few years ago was that Look at Us, you know.
Yeah.
So just to do the wee intro, but
of course. There was someone you mentioned to me lately. We were corresponding on a message. You sent me a link. Was it Tommy Dodge?
Tommy Dodge, yeah. I don't see much of him on YouTube now, but there's wee bits and pieces. But I really like him as well too.
Very good.
Another player that I really liked is Mike Johnson. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's probably one of the. Probably, if not the top man around today.
I would have to agree. For me, I think currently Mike Johnson's probably my favourite player. Current favourite player.
You know, he's played some lovely stuff there with Rhonda Vincent. You know.
That's great.
The grass grows over me, is that? Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Very good. Paul, you're currently playing a Mullen guitar.
I'm playing them all.
Ted convinced you.
I've been through them all.
I know you have, and that's what I was getting around to. From, and I know you had quite a long time as well. But you've had them all. You've tried them all.
Mullen, Evans, Rains, Excel, Showbud. The only guitar that I've never played an MSA, and I love the tone you get off it.
They're a great guitar.
Davey Holland is one too, isn't he?
He has. He's a name one.
What other models? Oh, I've had a Zoom as well too, and I've had a GFI. I'm just going around the room here.
You currently own a Show Pro.
I have a Show Pro, yeah.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful guitar.
I got a Show Pro of
you
Ted.
You bought that at the festival?
Yeah, it was at the festival.
I have to say, it was a show stunner. That guitar at the festival was yeah.
I bought it with the notion of playing a C6, you know. But I haven't got around to it yet, you know.
No, I know. Ted mentioned earlier that I bought a Carter steel of him at Twin Neck, 2005, and I sold it around, I forget when I sold it, but I had it about 10 or 12 years, and I only switched over to the back neck about half a dozen times. So the whole time I had it, I always had that intention of playing C6 as well, but I never got around to it. Yeah. That's a lovely, and you know, Richard Nelson has tried to encourage me many a time, but I never done it. But I'd love it. I'd love to be fit to play.
Richard has actually asked me to come down, you know, if I want any lessons, you know. But it's just it's to get your head, you know, around it. You know, it's a completely different instrument.
It is.
You know, there's no doubt about it. The two of them might be beside each other.
They're neighbours, but
they're oceans apart.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. It's a whole different learning curve. Yeah.
John Huey was a great. I loved the way John Huey played both. You know, the C6 and the E9. You know, he was absolutely brilliant. You know.
Yeah. Now there's this new inversion of, which I'm sure you have seen, like me, on Facebook and that. Johnny Cox has a 12 string, and it's an amazing thing. Have you seen that, Paul?
D13, is it?
No, I haven't seen it. No.
It's you got a new MSA Tour Pro built, and it's a beautiful guitar. But Johnny has it set up. I think by listening to some of the things that he's done, he says that you can do almost everything you can do in a C6 right on this neck, but you're working with a 12 string universe. Well, D13th, is that right, John?
D13th,
So
it's funny, you put up a thing there last week on the Irish Steelers of an old Brian Call clip.
I did.
And Declan Nerney was playing steel with him at the time.
In 1986.
Beautiful playing, and what a lovely sound, you know.
And
I think he was only playing an 8 string, was it?
He was playing an 8 string, and he was since telling me that there was no knee levers or anything on it. It was just 8 strings with 3 pedals. Yeah. And you know, I was watching that clip like you see, and even his harmonics and everything was very precise. And going back to '86, he was very good, and and Declan completely give up, but Jonathan would be able to tell you, because
he actually had me on a couple of gigs, concert gigs that we're doing, and he sat down behind my MSA, and he was more or less fit to play them same things that he played on those clips that you had up, but he was fit to play them right away without struggling or having to think about it, you know. He was fit to play it, and naturally, you know. So he has a steel which I just basically cleaned and tuned up for him, but it's like a brand new steel guitar.
He did. He bought a brand new Mullen of Ted.
And he said it hasn't been out of the box maybe 3 times, and I was probably the 3rd time I had to take it out of the box. But he's a talented fella, and he could play it if he had the time. But I think he always said he struggled with, well, I think it was a thumb pick, and he wanted to be able to use the proper picks, you know. But he doesn't use them. I think he uses his. Was he using 3? Maybe it was these 2 fingers with a thumb pick.
Perhaps,
That there, and that's what a problem. But then it's not a problem. Martin Cleary's been playing for that for years.
Yeah.
It's never been a problem for It's just the way everybody has their own interpretation.
It's funny. You have, you know, as I said to you, I came out of a pop rock background, and I was always playing guitar, and I would have played with a pick. You know.
Yeah.
Now, when I started playing steel, and with the guitar on me and sitting at the steel, I had to try to figure out how am I going to play this and play the guitar as well, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So I had to end up sort of like learning to play the guitar with the picks on.
Yeah.
Because the way I was operating, I wouldn't have had the time to off on with the picks, you know.
That's the same.
So I used to be up and down a lot with the fingers, you know, for strumming, you know, and then play the, you know, just the melody, pick the melody with the lead parts on the guitar, you know.
Yeah.
So, and you were on there about Declan playing harmonics, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I learned to play the steel guitar first, nobody ever showed me how to play harmonics. And I heard harmonics being played, you know. Now, I think, I was told then later that I don't play them right, you know.
Oh, there's no right.
You know,
I don't think.
But I play them sort of like, with that finger there, you know, like. Sort of pick with that finger there, and then, you know,
line that up with the.
Is that the way you do it?
Well, I actually, it's like the side of my hand. I just go like that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, that's the way. I would.
Oh, the side of the hand.
The side of my hand, yeah. The man that showed me, and I just remembered, was Al McCulkin.
Right.
I remember doing some work with Al, and Al had just showed me, you know, about. Well, you know, obviously I'm cleaner than that, but yeah. I don't know, is there a right way or a wrong way?
I don't know.
I think whenever it goes wrong is when you can't get them.
Exactly. When you play them, they're just, they come up duff. Yeah. But I mean, you know,
mine's turn out like that. I mean, most
getting back like to playing with picks or whatever. I mean, as you said about Martin Cleary,
he always them.
And then you have Percy, who just uses his fingers.
That's right.
Like, you know, there's no right and wrong. I don't believe, you know.
John Dolan, another good steel player, uses his fingers.
Uses his fingers. That's right.
Anybody else that you can think of?
I'm sure there's lots of others, Paul. You know, it's funny. We had Sarah Jory come over here in May of last year, and she'd done a couple of workshops, and we talked about this. You know, we talked about lots of different things, and you know, there's all these theories of how to sit at the guitar, but I believe Sarah's theory was right of all, because do you know what? There is no right or wrong way. If it works, you know, and you know, if you're comfortable and lots of things like that. I think there's certainly, for me, there's nothing wrong with the way you do harmonics, Paul. You know,
it works.
You know, it's funny. I have seen different tutorials. If you were to go to the Jeff Newman one, Jeff has totally different tactics than what Travis would have. And you know, so if it works, it works. You know, there's no wrong way to ride a bicycle. You know.
I know. I sort of.
Beautiful.
Just messing around there.
Beautiful.
You know?
Beautiful.
I'll just play. I've sort of composed a wee thing or two on the steel, you know. I'll just give you a wee thing now. I call it the break. Well, it sounds like a lot of other things, you know, but
go for it.
Just play a wee bit.
Yeah, I would love to hear. Did you play at the festival last year?
I think I did, yeah. I don't remember it because I was, as I said to you, my head was in a spin, you know. My head was in a spin, my feet didn't touch the ground. So I don't remember much about it.
Brilliant.
Very good. Brilliant. Great stuff.
Paul, you're a great player, and you know, and it's nice. You're also a good friend. Thank you for coming up here this evening.
Right.
You know, is there anything else you would like to elaborate on, Paul, when you're here? Because that's why we're doing this. And it's, you know, as you can see how casual it is and fun.
Well, I have a point. If you don't, I'm sorry for stopping you, but you actually paid a great tribute to our good friend Ted Nesbitt by writing.
You did
a great song about Ted Nesbitt, basically. Which you can find probably on YouTube as well. Is it up on YouTube?
Yeah.
And if I'll let you tell how that came about.
Yeah, it's funny. I always had this line in my head. You know, I always loved Ted. Ted is a great person. He's so genuine. He's a lovely person to talk to. You know, if you're around Ted and you're in bad humour or in bad form, you'll always leave Ted a better man. I'm leaving here a better man. You know?
He's the go-to guy.
Yes.
Usually with a lot less money in your pocket.
But there's this line always come into my head about Ted was, he's the man that wheels and deals and steals. You know? And I always had this, and I always kept saying to Ted, I'm going to write a song about that someday, you know. So I did end up writing a song about it, and I can't even remember now, you know.
Can you not?
There's a man in Carrickfergus, he wheels and deals and steals, and he loves his country music, and he plays it like he feels. That's the way it goes there. That's Ted from Carrickfergus, the man that wheels and deals and steals. That's just a wee bit out there.
Class, Paul.
I actually started too high there.
Very good.
Okay.
Brilliant.
What we will do is we must share that to the page, to our Facebook page, for the viewers to see it. You know. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
I'd just like to finish off as well too, and saying that it's great for the pedal steel to have guys like yous around now at the moment. You know, yous are two young men, and especially like for Ryan that. You must, you know, when you hear about people that have 4 or 5 irons in the fire, Ryan, you must have about 104 or 105 irons in the fire, you know. And
it's great.
You know,
I agree with
you just get stuck. If you take an interest in something, you get stuck into it 120%, you know.
Well, yeah.
And then to see you then putting your time into your son and to Josh, you know.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, you know. It's great to see it, you know.
Yeah. It's an obsession, I think, Paul, and I brought this up in one of the previous episodes. It's such, whatever's about pedal steel guitar and the community of people around pedal steel guitar. Paul, you're around a long time and you've played in bands. But where else would you find a room full of people playing all Gallagher with the same instrument? It really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, and as we all know, I've stated, I'm a piano player. That's what I've made. Thankfully, I've made a decent living from playing country piano for the last 25 plus years. But this is my hobby, and I really enjoy it, and I enjoy the people that's involved in it. You know, because it's you know, like you guys, people coming here to my home, and we do have our meetings and we have our sessions, and it's always so much fun. And you know, the only other people I know that can do that are maybe traditional music people, fiddle players, and they go to a corner of a bar and play together.
Yeah.
But you know, the steel guitar is just there's just something about it that you know, it's great, you know, and enjoyable.
And it's great to see, you know, the two of you, you know, especially Jonathan as well too, that's been into steel for so long, and I believe the two of you are going to become actively involved now in the Pedal Steel Guitar Association of Ireland, like for the festival, you know, or you've been asked, and that's great. Yeah. You know, you young blood, you know.
Yeah, well, Pat has. I think he's convinced us. I think are we now part of the committee, Jonathan?
We are. We're supposed to be. Yeah, we forgot to attend the first meeting.
And I'm going to finish up now with one thing, and this is a great thing, you know. Yeah. Me and this man here, he's got his arm on that counter there, and I had my arm on this counter here, and Minnie's a counter, we had our arms on, the two of us.
That's right.
That's and we dropped a bit out.
We did.
And the two of us are sober now for years.
Right. That's right. Long time.
I haven't had a drop in years, and you haven't.
Nope.
And it's great to see that.
That's right. That's right. That's
long wait.
Oh, please God, yeah.
Very good.
I don't know if you're going to leave that in or not.
Oh, you can.
That's great. No, I'll second what you're saying about Ryan. Ryan has put his whole heart and his whole family. They're treating us like lords here today as well.
That's right.
Tea and sandwiches and everything has been top class. But if Buddy Emmons had took the attitude, you know, well, you know, I'm interested in this thing, but you know, I don't need all them 2 extra strings or whatever he done to the instrument. Where would we have been today without his pedal steel guitar? You know,
exactly.
So what you've done, and what I'm trying to say, what you've done for the whole guitar in Ireland, Ryan, has been amazing by putting stuff up on Facebook and promoting the instrument. I think it's great, and I'm delighted to be a friend of yours and to be a part of this Great stuff.
Well, I wouldn't do it without you, Jonathan. You know, it's
brilliant.
You know, we all enjoy it, and that's what it's about. You know, it's good people and good friendship, and you know, it gives us something to. We used to drink together at one time. Now we play steel together.
It's your round, Ryan.
Very good.
Well, are you going to leave us with a tune, are you?
We'll do something, all right. Right. I don't know what I'm going to do now. This is kind of all sweaty now at the minute. What do we see? What'll I do?
Well done. Well, listen, that brings us to the close of another episode.
Thank
Paul
you
Gallagher, thank you very much for joining us.
Really enjoyed being
Thank
here.
you.
Thanks very much for that. All right, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Another episode concluded. Until the next one, thank you very much.